Virus is very tough. And yes, you can contract it even when you're being very, very careful.
The governor says he's pushing back their execution dates because of an ongoing problem with getting the supply of drugs.
I don't know if you'd call it an executioner's school, but you've got these states out there that may not have done an execution in 10 years. And
that last telephone call, you can't call anybody after that.
Finding that the prerequisites of law have been met and that a jury of his peers has unanimously found death to be the appropriate sentence.
As the state continues to struggle to find the drugs needed for lethal injection.
Youngstown's latest homicide victim was apparently no stranger to violence.
The Supreme Court is ordering a federal appeals court to re-examine the case of convicted killer.
And told him that he didn't suffer enough. Or this wasn't a
Percy Hutton case. In the realm of criminal justice, few stories resonate with the weight of betrayal and tragedy like that of Percy Hutton. The tale begins in Cleveland, Ohio on September 16, 1985, when 24-year-old Derek Ricky Mitchell met his tragic end at the hands of Hutton, a man he once considered a friend. This event would set off a chain reaction of events that would reverberate through time and ultimately lead to Hutton's sentencing to Demise Row, where he has resided for 35 years. Percy Hutton's relationship with Derek Mitchell and Samuel Simmons Jr. was one of camaraderie until it soured over accusations of theft. It was alleged that Mitchell and Simmons had stolen from Hutton, sparking tension between the former friends. This rift culminated in a confrontation between Hutton and Simmons at the latter's home, where Sutton demanded the return of a stolen sewing machine. During this encounter, Hutton issued a chilling threat, proclaiming that if he discovered any involvement in the theft, he would slay them both. The events took a darker turn in the early hours of September 16, 1985, when Hutton, accompanied by his future brother-in-law Bruce Laster, drove to Simmons' residence. Upon arrival, Hutton requested Simmons' assistance in repairing a car, with a rifle ominously visible on the back seat. Subsequently, Hutton coerced Simmons into accompanying him to Mitchell's home under the guise of resolving the alleged theft of the sewing machine and missing tires. Once at Mitchell's residence, tensions escalated as Hutton accused Mitchell of involvement in the theft. Despite Mitchell's denials, Hutton persisted, insisting that Mitchell accompany him to confront a purported buyer of the stolen goods. The trio embarked on a fateful journey, culminating in a parking lot behind a bus facility where Hutton, out of earshot, placed an arm to Mitchell's head. Following this harrowing encounter, Hutton and Mitchell retrieved a sewing machine from a nearby building before Hutton's actions took a violent turn. The trio then embarked on a car theft spree, culminating in a tragic act of crime. As Hutton attempted to steal a Cadillac Eldorado, he shot Samuel Simmons twice in the back of the head, leaving him lifeless before fleeing the scene with Mitchell and Laster. Miraculously, Simmons survived the ordeal, albeit critically injured, and sought help. Upon Hutton's return, he claimed an unknown assailant had attacked Simmons, further perpetuating the web of deceit. However, Mitchell's fate remained unknown until his lifeless body was discovered 2 weeks later. The victim of a gunshot wound consistent with a bullet retrieved from Simmons' head. In the wake of these horrifying events, Percy Hutton's actions would come under scrutiny, leading to his arrest, trial, and subsequent conviction for the slaying of Derek Mitchell.
you move the inmate from death row to the death chamber 24 hours before he's executed. I don't know if you'd call it an executioner's school, but you've got these states out there that may not have done an execution in 10 years, and the policy book prescribes a schedule, hour by hour, and even down to minute by minute. This was the Texas electric chair, dubbed Old Sparky by the inmates.
Despite his numerous appeals and claims of innocence, the courts remained resolute in their decision, sentencing Hutton to Demise Row, where he has awaited ending for over 3 decades. For the families of the victims, the pain and loss inflicted by Hutton's actions have been immeasurable. Tia Talbot, mother of Derek Mitchell, continues to grapple with the anguish of losing her son in such a senseless act of crime. The scars of betrayal run deep as she recalls the bond shattered by Hutton's betrayal and the devastation that followed. Even after all these years, the wounds inflicted by Percy Hutton's actions have yet to heal fully. Samuel Simmons Jr., the sole survivor of Hutton's rampage, continues to live with the physical and emotional scars of that fateful night.
That last telephone call, you can't call anybody after that.
And then they reinstate the electrocutions for the state of Florida.
The role of the witnesses by law is to confirm that an individual was actually executed.
Complexities of justice. The case of Percy Hutton, convicted for the slaying of Derek Mitchell in 1985, remains a haunting reminder of the complexities and challenges within the criminal justice system. Hutton's journey from the events leading to Mitchell's demise to the subsequent legal proceedings and eventual reprieve highlights the intricacies involved in seeking justice and closure for all parties involved. On Tuesday, September 17, 1985, Hutton embarked on a fateful journey to Indianapolis, where he would later turn himself into the police on October 5, 1985. The circumstances surrounding his decision to surrender remain shrouded in mystery. Yet it marks a pivotal moment in the unfolding saga of Derek Mitchell's tragic demise. Meanwhile, Bruce, Hutton's accomplice, also faced arrest in connection with Mitchell's demise, further complicating the legal landscape. Throughout Hutton's trial, his attorneys attempted to mount a defense, claiming that Mitchell's demise occurred while Hutton was in Indianapolis, seeking to cast doubt on his involvement in the crime. However, despite their efforts, Hutton was ultimately convicted and sentenced to demise, underscoring the gravity of the charges against him and the weight of the evidence presented in court. In a surprising turn of events, Governor Mike DeWine issued Percy Hutton a reprieve, rescheduling his ending for June 18, 2025. This decision comes amidst a backdrop of multiple endings being rescheduled in recent years due to the challenges posed by the coronavirus pandemic and Ohio's struggles to secure suppliers for the ending drugs.
The governor says he's pushing back their execution dates because of an ongoing problem with getting the supply of drugs.
Table for today for Ohio's 70th governor, Mike DeWine, sworn in, like you said, 1 minute into this new day.
And Governor DeWine granted reprieves Friday to 3 inmates on Ohio's death row.
All executions until the state can find a new plan for a new lethal injection protocol.
These factors have contributed to a climate of uncertainty surrounding the state's ending protocols and procedures, raising questions about the efficacy and morality of capital punishment in modern society. Amidst the legal and logistical complexities surrounding Hutton's case, the emotional toll on the families involved cannot be overstated. The family of Derek Mitchell continues to grapple with the loss of their loved one, seeking solace and closure amidst the ongoing legal proceedings and uncertainty surrounding Hutton's fate. Similarly, Samuel Simmons, a survivor of the tragic events, faces a long and arduous journey towards healing and recovery, haunted by the trauma of that fateful day in 1985. For the family of Percy Hutton, the reprieve offers a temporary respite from the looming specter of his ending, providing them with an opportunity to seek strength and support as they navigate the complexities of the legal system and grapple with the uncertainty of his fate. Their prayers for evidence of Hutton's innocence or incompetency to be brought to light reflect a deep-seated hope for justice and mercy in the face of adversity. As the legal proceedings continue and the date of Hutton's rescheduled ending draws nearer, the need for compassion, understanding, and empathy remains paramount. Regardless of one's stance on capital punishment, the human cost of these decisions cannot be ignored, underscoring the importance of seeking truth, justice, and healing for all those impacted by this tragic chapter in Ohio's history.
Of a death row inmate was scheduled to happen, but that date, like so many others, was recently pushed back.
And the governor keeps pushing back execution dates for death row inmates as the state continues to struggle.
Virus is very tough. And yes, you can contract it even when you're being very, very careful.
Ohio's death row inmates are more likely to die from natural causes or suicide than lethal injections.
Ohio Supreme Court sets ending dates. Percy Hutton, a resident of Cleveland, was sentenced to demise for the slaying of Derek Mitchell. The dispute stemmed from an altercation over a sewing machine, during which Hutton allegedly threatened Mitchell. Despite Hutton's attorney Michael Benza's argument that the ending date should not have been scheduled due to ongoing federal appeals, the Ohio Supreme Court proceeded with setting the date for June 22, 2022. The decision underscores the legal complexity surrounding demise penalty cases, particularly regarding the coordination between state and federal judicial processes. The contention over the ending date of Hutton underscores broader debate surrounding the demise penalty and its administration in the United States. The issue of pending federal appeals highlights the importance of adhering to legal procedures and safeguarding the rights of individuals facing capital punishment. It also raises questions about the efficiency and efficacy of the demise penalty system, particularly in cases where appeals processes can be protracted and complex. Moreover, the Ohio Supreme Court's decision to set an ending date despite pending federal appeals underscores the divergent perspectives on capital punishment within the legal system. While proponents of the demise penalty argue for the swift administration of justice, opponents emphasize the need for thorough review and consideration of all legal avenues, including federal appeals. The differing viewpoints reflect broader societal debates on the morality, effectiveness, and fairness of the demise penalty as a form of punishment. Overall, the setting of the ending date for Percy Hutton, Ohio has sparked controversy and legal challenges due to pending federal appeals. The decision by the Ohio Supreme Court to schedule these endings highlight the complexities inherent in capital punishment cases and the divergent perspectives within the legal system. As these cases proceed, the debate surrounding the demise penalty continue to raise profound questions about justice, fairness, and the administration of law in society.
Navigating the moratorium. The Ohio Supreme Court's recent decision to set an ending date for demise row inmate Samuel Moreland has reignited debate surrounding capital punishment in the state, even as Ohio grapples with an unofficial moratorium on endings due to difficulties in procuring legal drugs. Moreland, convicted of the gruesome 1985 slayings of 5 individuals, including 3 children, is slated to face ending on July 30th, 2025, marking a significant development in a case mired in legal complexities and ethical dilemmas. The court's ruling, in response to a request from the Montgomery County prosecutor, underscores the persistent challenges facing Ohio's demise penalty system. Despite the ongoing moratorium and the inherent uncertainties surrounding the availability of lethal injection drugs, the court has opted to move forward with setting an ending date for Moreland, signaling a resumption of capital punishment proceedings in the state. However, Moreland's attorneys have vehemently opposed the decision, citing ongoing legal proceedings and alleging potential violations of human rights. They argue that Moreland's petition with the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights raises serious concerns about due process and fairness, casting doubt on the appropriateness of scheduling an ending date under such circumstances. Nonetheless, the court's decision to proceed underscores the complex interplay between legal, ethical, and procedural considerations inherent in demise penalty cases. At the heart of the matter lies the harrowing tragedy that unfolded in Dayton in 1985 when Moreland perpetuated a heinous act of crime that claimed the lives of his girlfriend Glenna Green, her daughter Lana Green, and 3 innocent grandchildren, Datrin Talbot, Datwin Talbot, and Violana Green. The brutal nature of the slayings, compounded by the tender ages of the victims, sent shockwaves throughout the community, leaving an indelible mark on the collective consciousness of Ohioans. In the years since Moreland's conviction, the legal landscape surrounding capital punishment has evolved significantly, with Ohio facing mounting challenges in carrying out endings. The state struggles to obtain lethal injection drugs, coupled with ethical concerns surrounding the administration of capital punishment, has led to a de facto moratorium on endings, raising questions about the future of the demise penalty in Ohio.
The Supreme Court is ordering a federal appeals court to re-examine the case of convicted killer.
Finding that the prerequisites of law have been met and that a jury of his peers has unanimously found death to be the appropriate sentence.
Republican Governor Mike DeWine's acknowledgement of the logistical hurdles facing lethal injection as a method of ending underscores the need for legislative action to address the shortcomings of Ohio's capital punishment system. As the state grapples with the complexities of carrying out endings, lawmakers must confront the inherent moral and practical challenges associated with capital punishment, seeking viable alternatives that ensure both justice and humanity. Against this backdrop of legal and ethical uncertainty, Moreland's case serves as a poignant reminder of the profound consequences of capital punishment. While the pursuit of justice for the victims and their families remains paramount, it's imperative that the process be conducted in a manner consistent with principles of fairness, due process, and respect for human rights. As Ohio navigates the complexities of its demise penalty system, the setting of an ending date for Samuel Moreland underscores the need for a thoughtful and deliberative approach to capital punishment. Amidst ongoing debates and legal challenges, it's essential that the state's policies reflect a commitment to justice, accountability, and the protection of fundamental rights. In the face of daunting legal hurdles and moral quandaries, Ohio stands at a crossroads, grappling with the weighty implications of its approach to capital punishment. The decision to set an ending date for Samuel Moreland represents a pivotal moment in the state's ongoing dialogue on the demise penalty, calling into question the efficacy and ethics of a system fraught with complexities and uncertainties. As the legal proceedings unfold and the debate over capital punishment continues, Ohio must confront the profound moral and ethical questions raised by Moreland's case, charting a path forward that upholds the principles of justice, fairness, and human dignity for all. Only through thoughtful reflection, compassionate dialogue, and a commitment to fundamental rights can the state navigate the complexities of its demise penalty system and strive towards a more just and humane approach to criminal justice. Heart-wrenching pursuit. The quest for justice in the wake of a horrifying tragedy has resurfaced, stirring a cauldron of emotions and reigniting a decades-old wound for Tia Talbot, a wound that has never truly healed. The specter of that fateful night on November 1st, 1985, when Talbot returned from a routine shopping trip to a macabre scene of unspeakable horror, continues to haunt her to this day. In a moment of cruel fate, Talbot's world was shattered as she discovered the lifeless bodies of her mother, sister, niece, and 2 young sons brutally slaughtered in their home on South Ardmore Avenue in Dayton, Ohio. For Talbot, the trauma of that night remains seared into her memory, an indelible scar that refuses to fade. And now, after 32 years, the wounds are being forcefully reopened as the Ohio Innocence Project champions the cause of Samuel Moreland, the man convicted of perpetrating one of the most heinous mass slayings in Dayton's history. In a bid to unearth the truth, the project is funding new DNA testing, hoping to exonerate Moreland and rewrite the narrative of that tragic night. The prospect of revisiting the nightmare that has haunted her for decades is a bitter pill for Talbot to swallow. The memories of finding her loved ones brutally slain, her sons beaten to demise, and her own son Darren left scarred and traumatized are still fresh in her mind.
And told him that he didn't suffer enough, or this wasn't enough.
As the state continues to struggle to find the drugs needed for lethal injection.
The anguish of reliving these harrowing moments threatens to engulf her once again, dredging up feelings of sorrow, anger, and profound loss. The Ohio Innocence Project's pursuit of DNA testing has stirred a maelstrom of emotions within Talbot, a potent blend of hope and despair, justice and injustice. While she yearns for closure and resolution, the prospect of Moreland's potential exoneration fills her with a sense of dread and disbelief. To Talbot, Moreland is not just a convicted slayer, he's the embodiment of evil, a monster who snuffed out the lives of her loved ones in a senseless act of crime. The road to justice has been long and arduous for Talbot, a journey fraught with heartache, setbacks, and dashed hopes. Moreland's steadfast refusal to admit guilt, coupled with the legal complexities surrounding his case, has only served to prolong her agony. Despite Darren's eyewitness testimony, Moreland has adamantly maintained his innocence, mounting appeal after appeal in a desperate bid to evade justice. As the specter of Moreland's potential exoneration looms large, Talbot finds herself grappling with a myriad of conflicting emotions. The prospect of reopening old wounds fills her with trepidation, yet she remains resolute in her pursuit of truth and justice. For Talbot, this isn't just about seeking closure, it's about honoring the memory of her loved ones, ensuring that their voices are heard, and holding Moreland accountable for his heinous crimes. Tragic legacy. The enduring pain and grief of the Talbot and Green families serve as a poignant reminder of the tragic events that unfolded on that fateful day in November 1985. Eugene Higgins, the father of two of the young victims and the former boyfriend of Tia Talbot, was also a victim of crime, meeting a tragic end himself in 1996. His violent history with Tia Talbot adds a layer of complexity to an already harrowing tale of loss and devastation. From his prison cell, Samuel Moreland has relentlessly pursued appeals, challenging the validity of his conviction and raising allegations of procedural impropriety. Despite his efforts, Moreland has faced successive defeats in the legal arena, with courts at various levels upholding his conviction and sentence. Flanagan, speaking on behalf of Montgomery County Prosecutor Matt Hecht, expresses skepticism regarding the potential impact of the proposed DNA testing on Moreland's case, citing concerns about contamination and the inability of such tests to definitively establish guilt or innocence. Tia and Darren Talbot remain steadfast in their conviction that Moreland is responsible for the brutal slayings of their loved ones. They express frustration and bewilderment at the prospect of further delays in the pursuit of justice, emphasizing Moreland's lack of remorse and the overwhelming evidence of his guilt. For Tia, the quest for justice is deeply personal, driven by a desire to honor the memory of her family and ensure that Moreland is held accountable for his heinous crimes. The profound impact of the tragedy is evident in the lives of the survivors, with Tia and Darren grappling with profound loss and trauma.
Exclusion of reasonable doubt. The court finds the factors are proven are sufficient to impose a sentence of death.
Youngstown's latest homicide victim was apparently no stranger to violence.
For Tia, the pain remains palpable, serving as a constant reminder of the gaping void left by the untimely demises of her loved ones. Darren, haunted by the memories of that fateful night, struggles with survivor's guilt and the burden of carrying on in the absence of his family. Despite the passage of time, the wounds inflicted by Moreland's actions continue to reverberate, casting a long shadow over the lives of those left behind. Tia's decision to relocate to California and Darren's subsequent struggles with addiction and crime underscore the enduring legacy of trauma and loss. While Darren has since turned his life around, finding solace in his marriage and entrepreneurial pursuits, the specter of Moreland's presence on Demise Row serves as a constant reminder of the unfinished business that hangs over their lives. On July 30th, 2025, an execution date was set for Samuel Moreland. Despite an ongoing unofficial moratorium on endings in Ohio due to challenges in obtaining lethal drugs, the Ohio Supreme Court proceeded with the decision granting the request of the Montgomery County Prosecutor. Moreland's state and federal appeals had been exhausted, prompting the court to schedule his execution. This development marked a milestone in the legal proceedings surrounding Moreland's case, reigniting discussions about capital punishment and the pursuit of justice for the victims and their families. That's all for this video, guys. See you next time, and bye for now.